How's it going, everybody? It's Prod here, and welcome back to some Night Reign. Today, I want to give you guys my honest opinions and talk about the Night Reign DLC, the Forsaken Hollows. A lot of people have been coming into the streams and asking me continuously one of the most important questions, which is it worth it? We'll start off with that. I guess now that I've technically beat the DLC, in quotations, beat the DLC, because I did beat technically the main two bosses that come with the DLC. So first of all, the DLC is 15 bucks, or if you bought the deluxe edition, obviously you already have the DLC. Is it worth the $15? So on the outside, it honestly might look like, hey, this is two bosses and two characters with no new weapons that are at least out now. It has actually been confirmed apparently that there are going to be new weapons coming soon in an update separately. I don't know exactly why they released it separately. I'd assume maybe because the map itself is already kind of overwhelming, especially with the, I will say, map, right? It's more of a shifting earth, but technically if you do play the new bosses, you essentially spend 2 days there. There's no way to get out. It's a whole map in itself. Let's just call it what it is. It's a new map. There could be a chance that people might find it a little bit overwhelming to have all the new weapons and everything all at the same time. I personally wouldn't have minded, but some people might have. But for $15, I will say it is a lot more than just the two bosses. Going into the game itself and into the world, not even only just the new map, but heading back into Limveld with the additions of the new maps, you do have tons of stuff like you see here. While it might just be on the outside two main bosses, there's so many mini bosses that were added, new areas. And yes, okay, a lot of the stuff is reused from like regular Elden Ring and Dark Souls and some of the other Souls games, but really, I mean, it's Night Reign. I'm not exactly sure if people were expecting a ton of new like mini bosses. I'm not really sure why the whole reusing of bosses and mini bosses is something that's used against Night Reign, because it's Elden Ring Night Reign. It is what it is, right? They use Dark Souls bosses, they use Dark Souls 3 bosses, mini bosses, and I've absolutely loved what they have done with some of the new bosses that were added to the game. For example, quick spoiler, if you don't want to hear it, block your ears out for 10 seconds, right? The Demon in Pain and the Demon from Below and the Demon Prince. What they've done with that as a day 1 and day 2 boss was such a cool surprise and was so freaking sick to see in person for the first time. I was pumped. So stuff like that is so much more than just like the two bosses that they've shown. So instantly, yes, the DLC for this game is absolutely worth the $15 you're going to be paying for it. Especially once we start getting these updates with some of the newer weapons, quite possibly the hard mode version of some of the main bosses, which I will say, these bosses, the two main bosses, the Balancers and the Dreg Lord. First of all, the Balancers is a really chaotic boss fight, I will say, with all the different enemies and bosses in the actual boss fight all kind of attacking you from different directions. I've yet to really fight that boss solo, and usually that's my go-to, right? But I've been playing with the new characters and playing with viewers on stream, so I haven't gotten the chance as much. But even in trios, it is like you're each fighting 2 to 3 enemies by yourselves. Luckily, they're not that bad when it comes to strength, right? They get staggered, which is a good thing they did. I'm glad they get staggered, because if they didn't, the boss would be a lot more of a pain in the ass. They don't have a crazy amount of HP, so typically you can kind of kill them fairly quickly. The hard part is them ganging up on you, right? Then entering the second phase of the boss fight, having the main boss turn into a Melania style enemy. Visually, amazing. The music, incredible. The boss room looks so cool. I personally would give that boss somewhere like a 8 out of 10. I do think that at points it can be a little bit annoying having so many things going on at the same time. Some characters are for sure going to be at a huge disadvantage when it comes to that boss. But overall, it's a pretty good boss. The Dreg Lord, on the other hand, technically I've only fought him once and I did get him first try, which you will see a video on both of those bosses soon, and my first win with both of those bosses very soon. But that boss is so freaking cool. The thing he reminds me of so much is Gale from Dark Souls 3. To me, he almost seems like a bigger version of that mixed with a couple of different bosses. But like the movesets, the way he moves, everything about that boss reminds me so much of one of my favorite bosses of all time, which just makes me happy. Any boss that reminds me of Gale is always going to make me smile and make me have a good time. in any of the Souls games. So it's cool that we basically have a big rotten version of that. I honestly would probably rank that boss as one of my favorites in the game, and I'd probably give it like a 9 out of 10. How's the new map / shifting earth so far? I did a little bit as well of having some of the new areas in Limveld. I like the new additions. It's interesting that so far, because obviously it is a DLC, these new additions are something that only happen when you fight the new bosses. I'd imagine down the line, maybe in a couple months, those additions are probably going to be added to the other bosses, and you're going to be able to see some of those new additions when you fight other bosses. Because I know technically nobody wants to just fight the same 2 bosses over and over and over and over again. So I'd imagine after some time and the DLC has been out for a while, those will get added in. Same goes for Deep of Night, and I'm sure you're going to start seeing those pop up here in, who knows, it could even be a couple of weeks. I would probably say more like months, but what do I know? But the new map itself, having the whole crystal castles, having everything basically be made out of giant crystals and diamonds, it just makes the map beautiful. The music that you have in the new area is fantastic. It's nice to just listen to when you're walking around and running around. I will say it's a very hard map to learn. Limveld, while it is bigger, technically it feels a lot more flat. While this new map feels like it has so many different little hidden areas that make it a lot harder to know where to explore. Now, yes, I've only probably put like 7 or 8 hours into the map so far, and I'm sure I'll learn way more once I do put more time into it. But for now, it is kind of hard to maneuver around and kind of know where everything is. But I'm assuming with time it's just going to become like Limveld, right? You don't even need to open the map to know where you're running to and know which areas you're going to get specific type of loot. But I love the new additions. I love the, I guess technically what could be sort of like a little boss rush that they have. I like the objective of having to get the crystal to go into the castles, because it is a little bit annoying to have to look for them. They do seem to kind of spawn within certain set points, which you can always kind of go to these certain areas where you know you'll always find a crystal in some of these areas. In case you have no idea what the hell I'm talking about, there's a big ass crystal in the middle of the map. You have to destroy, I believe it is 4 little crystals that are hidden around the map. Once you hit day 2, by the way, these crystals do show up on the map, so you can technically go to them on day 2. But you can just run across them and find them. There are way more than 4, so almost always you'll run into at least a few when you're just exploring the map, so you can destroy them. You get an ability that lets you actually go into the main castles and the main areas you want to get great loot in, because if you don't get this crystal ability, your HP is halved, which does kind of suck, and it makes it very important if you do want to get like some of the better loot. For example, there is a boss rush building. There's a building with multiple levels. You fight one boss, get some loot, go up to the next level, fight another boss, get better loot, go up to the next level, fight another harder boss, get even better loot, and then once you reach the top, I believe you get a great rune, which is a pretty freaking cool reward. Honestly, there's so much to do that is like that in this map that it feels like it's gonna take a while for people to do everything. Like in Limveld, I know people were doing challenges where they were like, let's do every single thing on the map, and 4 people split up and do all the different things in the map. Or sorry, 3 people split up and do everything on the map. God damn, it's gonna be hard to do that. I'm sure people will, but it is gonna be tough on this new map. And again, people call it a shifting earth, and yet to me it almost seems more dense than regular Limveld. The new raids on the map have been really cool. I've only ran into 2. I'm not entirely sure how many raids there are. I've gotten the Doggo raid and then the Ice Dragon raid. Both super cool. The Doggo one is a little tough sometimes, I will admit. So the way it works is all of a sudden you hear a howl in the map. The whole map turns blood red and orange, and you're constantly burning to death until you go find the Doggo. And they're actually spread out in 3 different areas. That's the only thing that kind of sucks about that one. It feels like it takes a little bit too long. You kill the first Doggo, that's the easy one. The second one is a lot harder because you have a bunch of baby doggos spawn and they chase the hell out of you. And if anything, the babies are stronger than the goddamn adult dog. So then you kill the big one, and then you gotta go to the third one and find the third one, and then that's when you finally get the ability. And I will admit, it's a good ability, but sometimes it can take a little long. The Caligo one is, in my opinion, way better, and the ability is way better as well. The Caligo one, everything turns misty, snowy. You start to get hail rained on you, which actually doesn't do too much damage, but I can see if you get it early, that thing will fuck you up. One giant ice block literally falls on your head and does like half your HP, and if you get it early, I could imagine that thing could one-shot you. The cool part is you don't really have to do much except run up to him, hit him a couple times, and he disappears, so it's super fast to get that one. I prefer that one a lot more than the doggo, but that's just my opinion. And I have heard there is one more raid. I haven't seen it myself, but if you guys know what it is, let me know in the comments. But so far, I've been having a wonderful time with the DLC. I'm always streaming it, by the way, on both YouTube and Twitch. If you guys ever want to join on in and you see me live, feel free to come in and say hello. I'm excited to see what's to come still with the DLC, both in updates that we might get for weapons, maybe more enemies. I'm excited to see if we get hard mode versions of these Dreg Lords and waifus. Maybe a sockless version of the boss. Who knows? I'd love to see the Dreg Lord without sock. But anyways, I'd love to hear your guys' opinion as well on the DLC. Do you think it's worth it? For the $15, I absolutely do think it's worth it. I'm going to probably be linking people back to this anytime I get asked, is the DLC worth it? Because I would say absolutely yes. So far, to me, it is worth the 15 bucks. But thank you all so much for watching. If you made it this far, a like is very much appreciated. Have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.